Hello, folks. Welcome to Breakaway USA. We're glad to have Lance Parker, the CEO and founder of BankX, back on for the second time. Today, we're going to talk about mostly stable coins. He's going to get into the weeds a little bit. I'm going to ask some questions about some details that I'm still trying to learn. So, Lance, welcome back. Thanks for coming back on.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Michael.
Yes, sir. And you want to just kind of explain BankX and the stable coin that you guys have launched?
Yeah, absolutely. Launched. We're on Ethereum, Binance. We're deploying on some other notable EVM compatible chains. So they use the same language and development language as Ethereum. And so those will be released shortly. Arbitrum, Optimism, Polygon, and then we'll do Avalanche, Phantom, and Pulse chain. So what does that put us on? It'd be about 8 chains or so that we would be deployed on.
And so far, you're on how many?
So right now it's 2. We just deployed on 3 more. So we're sort of, before we really gear up our marketing, we want to deploy on chains that we think are going to be important. I've read an article where they said that 80 to 85% of the people that once they start using applications on a specific chain, they tend to stay there. So we think it's important to be on all the chains that matter, and I think the future is a multi-blockchain scenario. So at BankX, we have the first cryptocurrency that pays you interest for minting a stablecoin. It tracks the price of 1 gram of silver. You never face liquidation of the collateral you use to create the stablecoin. So the term you might hear in cryptocurrency is minting, which is how you create a cryptocurrency. And that can be done just programmatically, or it could be with some event or action that a user would do. In our case, it's locking up crypto collateral on the blockchain, and that would then back the stablecoin. So there's this pool of collateral that is exclusively used to back the stablecoin. And once you do that, then it creates the stable coin. So that's called minting in cryptocurrency.
So sorry, question on that. So did you guys start off by minting a certain amount of BankX tokens? And then as people come along and they want to invest, they mint their tokens as they commit collateral, which is crypto?
So minting, so minting occurs a couple times. There's 2 different ways in the system, and it's a little bit more in depth of how the system works. Typically, it is minting of the stablecoin is locking up collateral on the blockchain, which would create the XSD stablecoin. The system can also mint stablecoin itself to pay for rewards or certain incentives in the system. So those are what we call non-collateralized XSD, and those are minted and then burned out of the system later through some other events that we do. That's probably
so it reabsorbs it. So
reabsorbs it.
Inflating.
So much like we do some things to mint the BankX token to do things, we also burn it away. So it's not like the Federal Reserve Bank that just prints it forever and just there's no other side of it, and it has I think some very interesting implications to BankX, which we could talk about, because we just didn't do it just to do it this way. There's some very unique things that have already been proven by other protocols that we use as far as economic principles that they've shown had worked in cryptocurrency. So there's a few other innovations that we've done with BankX. I think we'll get into them, but if you want to sort of talk about stablecoins, where it started, how we got here, because I think there's something I usually say, which is the idea that not all stablecoins are created equal. So people just think, oh, I'm in a stable, I'm fine. And so the people that were in Terra Luna found out that stablecoins are not all the same or equal, because that was about a $60 billion loss, I believe, in the market, just because of that, the failure of that to maintain the peg. And so we'll talk about that too. So when I designed BankX, I looked into 5 categories of which I thought were important, and then designed around those categories. The first is how centralized it is. So is there an entity or company that could be captured? Like say a company could be taken over. either through bankruptcy or regulators. And that also speaks to, is the collateral centralized? Like, we don't store silver in a vault. We track the price of silver, but it's decentralized crypto on a decentralized blockchain that's actually backing it. So even though we peg to silver, we're not storing any silver in a vault, so to speak. So that whole idea of the centralization aspect was an important category. And then what was the, yeah, go ahead.
So quickly, sorry. So it's similar to how, I guess, back in the day before the Bretton Woods standard and whatnot, they used to peg the dollar to gold, but they didn't necessarily have gold reserves for them. They were exchangeable for gold. Is it something along those lines?
Yeah, they did. I believe what they did, Michael, was they had gold, and you had this sort of certificate that represented the ownership of the gold.
Right.
And then they, for some time up until Nixon went off the gold standard, we were 1-to-1, I believe. So, they blamed it on the speculators, but the reality is they wanted to be able to print money. They had set everything up previously. So you could look at it as a fiat currency that had centralized gold backing.
Okay.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. So, and then
I'm trying to differentiate how you're tracking the price of silver, but the real collateral is the crypto that has been staked. What's the difference between the word minting and staking, actually?
So staking is the act of locking it up for a purpose, right? So staking would be, I've locked it in a platform and I get some benefit, whether it's used to generate more money or it's locked up as collateral and I can borrow stablecoin from it. And then if my collateral drops, I could potentially be liquidated, as an example. So minting is the creation of a currency. Staking is the locking up of cryptocurrency.
But BankX, you mint by staking?
You could look at it that way. You're not locked for any time, but you do put the collateral in a pool that is for the sole and distinct purpose of backing the stablecoin. So when you do that, you create a stablecoin that pays you interest. And at any time, you can turn in the stable coin that you've minted that is burned out of the supply, and then you get your collateral back.
Okay, so it is burned out of the supply. That's what I was trying to figure out. Okay, so it's a temporary coin almost. It's a temporary token.
It is
to a certain extent.
Well, you could leave it out forever, right? So you could put collateral in, and then you have the stable coin, and then it's in circulation. The idea is that you're earning interest on the collateral that you put in to create the stable coin, and then you're earning it the entire time it's in circulation. So you are paid that interest when you turn in the stable coin to get your collateral back. So you get your collateral plus interest back.
Can you still use the crypto that you have staked in for other trades? No, you can't.
So that's the idea, is that it always, so it's this backstop against, something happening to the stablecoin. So that Terra Luna example that we just discussed, that is what's known as an algorithmic stablecoin, where there is no collateral, and algorithmic is a fancy way of saying it uses nothing but software rules and market forces to maintain the peg. So when the market decided that it didn't want to maintain the peg, there's nothing for anyone to go to redeem the value of what they once knew as $1 per Terra Luna stablecoin. So it's the same kind of concept as fiat currency. Well, okay, I don't want this dollar anymore, other than, if no one were to accept it, where could I go to get the actual value of it? It's no longer gold. And so I think it's a play on a bit of the, fiat currency with real nothing behind it other than what kind of demand that you can create with it.
That's something that from what from being somebody who is just getting more involved now in crypto and speaking to people who are maybe in the same kind of knowledge realm as me for about crypto, it's like, well, what's the fundamental value of it? And it seems almost like it can be a fiat currency, if you will, like even Bitcoin, because it's like it's not backed by anything. It's just algorithmic as well. But when you go, when you get a little deeper into it, it provides more and more examples of how it actually is something that stores value, how it is something that is, limited. Can you?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we just step back and look back at what the Federal Reserve Bank is doing, it's centralized. It has no value behind the fiat currency. They're printing it out of thin air. They're charging interest. So it's everything for their benefit. So what we did was to go the opposite way with BankX, where it's decentralized. You own the collateral. You're creating the currency. You're earning the interest. Where you're in complete control of everything. There is no bank that holds this. I don't have the ability to get to your collateral, and then you're earning the interest as it's continues in circulation.
BankX seems to me like the most decentralized possible way. Like is that your staple innovation of you own the collateral?
Yes, I mean it's all about the way we've designed it is to be where everything is in the hands of the individual. So it's just you, your wallet,
full freedom,
and the blockchain.
full control.
Right, absolutely. And so when you look at the 5 categories that we'll talk about, you'll see that everything was always slanted towards you're in charge, you're in complete control, it's full autonomy to do what you like with your assets, your cryptocurrency, and being able to design, the sort of financial life that you're looking to do. Where others and middlemen and people who sort of glob on in the financial industry, they're the ones that are picking up these earning interest and doing all these other things to be able to benefit themselves rather than the actual person that owns it, right? So we talked about the centralization aspect. I think the second area is the collateral type or no collateral, which we've touched upon with Terra Luna. So if there's no collateral, I think that's one of the worst designs of a stablecoin. Then you get into what's the collateral? Is it a US dollar? Well, that's sort of just pushing it a little, like, oh, with a dollar behind it, but then you still have sort of the issues with the dollar. You have companies like Tether and USDC, where it's not only a dollar, which I think has some big problems with inflation. So they're printing that out of oblivion. And then you have a bank that is centralized, holding the dollars that are backing the stablecoin. So you might have seen, I think it was last year, where Silicon Valley Bank failed or went bankrupt, and they had a significant amount of deposits of USDC. So there was a moment last year where USDC lost the peg because of that. So that whole centralization aspect, I think, is sort of showed itself there with the bank failure, basically there.
It's a weakness, and also it's a concern in terms of freedom, autonomy, and it being not something that can be controlled from a centralized position.
Right. It's always centralization, I think, always leads to trouble. I think we touched upon that.
I think that's what we're learning in every aspect.
That whole concept of a central authority controlling who eventually becomes corrupt, and so it could be captured. So USDC potentially could be captured or absorbed into the government and become a CBDC potentially. I mean, that's what could be how it goes.
Can you differentiate USDT and USDC for me? So what they do differently?
So USDT, I think, is an offshore company, where USDC is a US company. So that's how people have been distinguishing, and why I think probably Tether has done a little better. Tether was, I think, it was the first USD backed stablecoin, I believe. So it's been around for a really long time. It really caught on as a trading pair for all of the exchanges and centralized exchanges, and was used as a means of settlement between centralized exchanges. So they were sending Tether to settle up trades at the end of the day, right? So they really took off. About 70% of all the trades in crypto involve a stablecoin, and stablecoins are roughly 10% of the crypto market. So they're very important. And if there's not something like that, it's really hard to sort of put a value on the different cryptocurrencies. Also, you know, you have people trading that want to sort of take the neutral position. So they'll, you know, be in stable coins without having to go back into fiat and have it in their bank and then go kind of back. It's a great way to stay in crypto. So it did serve its purpose early on, Michael, to I think really propel crypto to where it is now. But there, you never know if there's manipulation. Like, are they printing Tether and buying Bitcoin? You know, is that causing some run up? You just never know, right? Because they could be just doing things like that. So
right, they're books. It's not a completely open source system that you can look into everything, or is it supposed to be? Because there is questions of Tether, right? And if they have all the USD that they claim they do.
There is definitely. They sign attestations, but we just don't know. Where I think USDC might have a little more auditing going. I'm not sure. I haven't dug into that piece of it. So there's this other aspect of Tether and USDC and other sort of USD-backed stablecoins where, you know, they're holding your dollars in their account. So what they do is go and buy T-bills. And I believe it was Tether is making around $4 billion a year on interest, right? So we get into another category is, you know, who's earning the interest off of your collateral, and then how can you decentralize that, or is there even any sort of passive income strategies? So we do a very unique thing with how we pay interest that's never been done, in that we inflate the BankX token to pay you interest in the form of BankX tokens. So this actually has a positive effect to the token supply of BankX. So we were able to bring an economic principle that was learned in the market from a protocol called HEX, which is a certificate of deposit. So there's a lot of math in the HEX system, but essentially when you own the HEX token, you lock it up or stake it. And for that, they inflate the currency to pay you rewards for staking. So much like Bitcoin inflates its currency to pay miners for validating the network, what HEX does is pay you for staking. So what was very interesting was they inflate the HEX token 3.69% per year to pay everyone that stakes. And what they found was that they were getting a 9.8% staking rate. So 9.8% of the supply was being staked each year on average, while they were inflating at 3.69% to pay those stakers.
So people were re-staking their HEX coins.
Right. Everything was looked at average. I think their average stake is 6 years. But when they looked at the average of what is the percentage of the supply that's being staked and what are we inflating the currency to pay those stakers, and the staking rate was higher than the inflation rate. So that difference is what I call a net deflationary effect. So inflating the currency to pay the right behavior actually creates a deflationary token supply, or a virtual deflationary token supply. So what we've done is, to create the XSD stablecoin, you use a combination of the native blockchain token, let's say that's Ethereum, and the BankX token. So you're locking up Ethereum and BankX. So like you said in the beginning, this is a lot like staking, Lance, right? So you're staking BankX as a part of the collateral. So Ethereum and BankX are in the collateral pool. You're effectively staking BankX. So you're locking it up the same way that HEX is. So we can inflate the currency to incentivize that behavior, which is lock up BankX and Ethereum and create the stable coin. And, you know, after that same economic principle that HEX has proven.
It's very cool. It's a very cool development in the crypto world. When, I mean, just thinking about how that it's incentive. The progression of that is really cool. And it's using free market incentive, basically, right? It's the same. Yeah. The closer you get to free market, real, true, free association, free market, Milton Friedman principles, the better kind of behavior you get. But so can you actually, so there's BankX tokens and then there's XSD, right? So you have to buy BankX tokens and then stake Ethereum with it, and you stake both of them, and then it creates XSD.
Exactly. So where you have other collaterals, the other collateral, crypto collateral backed systems like MakerDAO. So the progression with this, I think, is important because it helps to kind of get our heads around how all these stable coins have evolved and why they are designed the way they are designed. Is we went from sort of USD backed stablecoin, and then people are like, okay, I don't like that. I want to decentralize the collateral. So a protocol called MakerDAO came after USDT, USDC, some of those USD stablecoins, and they said, we're going to take crypto collateral, and you need to put 150% down in the system, and then so you put $150 worth of ETH, we'll let you mint DAI of 100. So you've over collateralized the stable coin. And if it drops below some point, then it would liquidate your collateral position. So that was more of a decentralized crypto, USD peg stable coin, and it's done pretty well. The problem is you're liquidated. So after that was a combination of all of these stable coins where there are some algorithmic rules. There's crypto collateral back in a protocol that we based our system on pretty heavily called Frax. So it uses all of the things that worked well, like some of the price stabilization techniques of Terra Luna, even though that failed. If they had collateral, they'd be okay because people could just redeem, and then the system would have sort of caught itself and recovered. And you have that crypto backed sort of using market forces and then using a combination of collateral in the Frax system, sort of this partially collateralized, partially algorithmic stablecoin, which we based this on. So when I was researching Frax, it was, I saw like, oh, were there just like you had sort of that same light bulb, isn't minting and staking the same thing? I thought, okay, BankX is being locked up. We're taking that of supply. We can inflate the way Hex did and incentivize that behavior, which we want anyway. We want people minting the stablecoin. So that progression of what's happened in the stablecoin market, starting with a centralized USD-backed stablecoin like USDT to more of a MakerDAO, and then Terra Luna and that failure, and then that mix of everything that worked within the Frax system is where we took that plus Hex to put it together to make it happen. So another category is this idea of price stabilization. So how does that happen? Is it just, you sort of back it with $1 like Tether? And so everyone knows there's $1 there. So it trades really tightly around $1 because there's no reason to buy above something where you're only going to get $1. Why pay about $1.10 for it? Or why would you sell it for 90 knowing that you could just redeem it for $1? So the things to look at, I think are in sort of this category was I looked at all of the ways that the stablecoin could maintain the peg, and we copied a lot of the ways that other protocols were using. That's probably more of in the line of a masterclass to go through kind of all those methods, but there's 4 key methods that we use, and they've all been proven in the market by the protocols that we're talking about now. And so that was a key category. I thought what was interesting was, what is the peg? So we purposely chose a gram of silver because we did not want to, with the runaway inflation, want to peg it to $1. But we do in the system use the dollar as the unit of account. So everything is expressed in dollars, but we do not track it in the value is going to move along with the price of silver. So I think that's a key aspect of the system.
Because to me, it seems like, so you come at this from a bit of a philosophical perspective. From our last conversation is what I gathered, in terms of we're trying to get away from this, broken system that is completely centralized. So we want to be able to have our freedom. And if you just revert back to using the US dollar, which is kind of a source of a lot of problems, it really almost defeats the purpose. But so getting away from that, it seems like is the right move.
Right. Inflation is a problem, and nothing backing it is a problem. And then if you're using something like USDC or USDT, then you have a huge centralization problem. Either it's a bank or regulatories or the potential being absorbed in as a CBDC, and then going through and actually them sort of changing how the smart contract works to be able to track you. It'd be very simple for them to convert that into a CBDC. It's already kind of there.
Right.
And that may be what the goal of the founders are, is to like, well, we've already built it for the US government. I mean, that
literally just sell out. I mean, they'd make a pretty penny from that for sure.
Yeah, they just pass a law from Congress that, hey, we're going to appropriate XYZ to, or it's national security. We have to take it over or some. I mean, it could be anything like that. So the design of this was looking at what were positives and negatives of protocols in the market, and choosing what was the best design based on decentralization, and individual freedom, and even down to how we pay the interest, right? So when you look at a protocol like Celsius, they had a bunch of treasury and they got over their skis as far as trying to produce return. And I think he probably did some things that probably wasn't wise and went bankrupt. So you have a central authority managing those crypto assets, and it went bad. So we don't have any involvement in generating revenue for the people who locked up crypto to create the stablecoin. That's all done and by that economic principle that Hex has shown us. And that's been out 3 or 4 years. And so that was a very interesting thing to see. Being an economics major from George Mason University, you're seeing like real time economic principles being proven and disproven in crypto. So it's pretty crazy to be involved and see it kind of like right on the edge of, of what it's showing. So it's pretty interesting.
You're right.
So,
it's these kind of trends that used to happen over decades. You're seeing these huge shifts in. Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, very quickly. Yeah. So a lot of thought. It was 2.5 years of research and development to get it to this point. And so there's a lot of people want to see it like, let's just get this out there. And so we've taken things slow to make sure that we're doing things the right way.
Well, that might be one of the faults of a lot of these other companies, is they just, they took this idea. They're like, this is a great idea. Let's run with it, get the software, infrastructure in place, and then just go with it. But there's not the right, the white hacker situation that you guys have done multiple times. I mean, that's very key to making sure the system is.
It's valuable. So for the viewers, blockchain is very difficult to develop on. There's very talented people who are looking to steal money. And as your system grows, it gets more and more what they call TVL, or total value locked, or money in the collateral pool, or money in liquidity pools. And hackers want to get to it. So they can do things that you never could have thought about if you sat there and looked at the code for years. And so these people are very talented. So we worked with white hat hackers to identify several things that we sort of went back to the drawing board. We had to redesign a couple things, not changing the core elements of the system, but just to make sure that prices couldn't be manipulated, things couldn't be stolen, either minting more Bank X than you deserve, or manipulating a price so you could basically take money out of the liquidity pool that wasn't rightfully yours, as an example. So it's very interesting, and I would encourage other protocols to do something similar. So we've been through a couple of those, Michael, and we'll leave it open, but we feel pretty confident about plugging up any exploits in the system,
any holes.
Yeah. So we've had some very talented hackers look at our
Can you give me a bit of a timeline of that? So you started this journey, let's say, what year? 2022, and it's been about two and a half years that you've been doing R&D and going through. And so when did you launch BankX, the token?
Yeah, so we deployed last year, and then we identified some exploits. So we spent about 4 months going through and identifying exactly how they were doing this, and then redesigning the system and redeploying. So after we went through that whole process, that's when we felt we were in a good place to start to deploy on the other chains.
Okay,
So
so it was like a beta. It was a beta phase just on Ethereum.
It was on Ethereum and Binance. So yeah, you could call it a beta phase, and it was kind of like let's see if someone can really break it. So we were launched in the wild. So there was hackers that we did not know of and we're not working with that identified some things just by hacking the system. And then there was white hat hackers who we ended up working with that we paid bounties to as they found things. So we were also audited by CoinFabric. So it's been quite a process to battle test BankX.
And now the stablecoin is launched.
Yeah, so we're just beginning the marketing efforts, and so we see liquidity being slowly added into the system over time, and then we'll be on those chains that I listed earlier, and we'll see which chain is the most popular with something like BankX, because they all have their advantages and disadvantages, and so we'll just see which one the market likes the best.
Just to clarify, so then USDT and USDC can be used to purchase Ethereum or any other cryptos, right?
Yes.
You'll be able to do the same thing with XSD.
So,
or is it something you just hold?
Well, so those go into use cases of a stable coin that we would also be pursuing. Like, could it be used for trading pairs? Yes, that's XSD could be. That would be more, I see the crypto community potentially creating their own pairs with XSD, but it would be more on a decentralized exchange where anybody can create that. What we've done, instead of us sort of getting into creating a bunch of decentralized exchange liquidity pools, what we've done is we've taken Uniswap version 2, and we have integrated that into our system, where that's how tokens are burned out of the system, is as they've been traded. So what we've invented is a concept called the integrated protocol owned liquidity. So our system has its own liquidity pool, which we drive incentives for you to add there, and it's always paired against the native blockchain token. So the direction we went with it was, with XSD, you can always move into the native blockchain token, and from there you can do anything you like. And so it also sort of marries BankX to the value of the chain that it's deployed on, because we're pairing against it, right? So because we're pairing against that native blockchain token. So and then there's always as more people use that chain, then the demand for that stable coin would increase in price. And so we took that direction towards it. And I really like the idea of pairing it only against the native blockchain token. And then people could go do what they like from there. So they could certainly create different pools and pair XSD against other trading pairs. But we see DEXs as potentially or decentralized exchanges like Uniswap, where they would just potentially route your order. Like if you wanted to go from XSD into USDT, it would just route you through the native blockchain token anyway. So it would exchange XSD for Ethereum and then Ethereum into USDT as an example. So,
which is kind of like, so you had mentioned the crypto credit cards last time we spoke. So that's kind of what those crypto credit cards are doing. Let's say if you're going to go use it, or would do if you're going to go use it at some store. I mean, the implementation of it, I don't know how widespread it is, but that's kind of what it's doing already. It's exchanging one and then exchanging back to get.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the potential of, like, if you wanted to go from XSD into any other crypto, it would be, we had no other liquidity pools. It was just our sort of centralized, decentralized pool, which was paired against the native blockchain token. You would just be going from XSD to Ethereum, and then Ethereum, you can go anywhere.
Right, rerouted. Right. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
So
I was trying to just kind of make sense of it compared to something else. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sometimes if you've ever used something like Uniswap, sometimes if there's not a pair from the token that you have versus what you want, they'll send your order through maybe another pool to get you to where you need to be. Right. So, but yeah, and the crypto cards, the credit cards, there's a ton. I mean, I don't have any examples right off the top of my head, but there's lots of cards where you can sort of load a card or a debit card with crypto. There's some that do the conversion right away and spend your crypto. So you have a wallet on your phone, as an example. So there's many different types of flavors of how that work. So the easiest one is it lets you sell crypto and then put some balance on, say, a debit card, but you could use it as a credit card. And then there's credit cards where, they I think you have some limit.
You'd have to pay it back.
Yeah, it's like a credit card where you have some limit that you can spend, and then as long as you have crypto backing it, they'll just take the payment from there, as an example. There's lots of different flavors of all of this.
Right. It's still, there's so much experimentation happening that some stuff's going to get weeded out.
So the 5 categories that we really looked at were centralization.
Collateral.
What was the collateral type, if any? And then how is the price of the stable coin stabilized? Like, what are the techniques? And then what is the peg? And then how is
interest?
And then how is interest paid, or any passive income abilities? Gotcha. And then is that centralized, and what can happen there? So along every aspects of this, we look to put it in the hands of the individual, where even down to how you're paid interest, there's nobody sort of dipping their hands in there and doing all that. So we spent quite a bit of time to make sure that, and I think those are really key areas around the stablecoin that you want to look at, because you just never know what can happen, right? You could have something like Terra Luna. Can have something like USDC. So I did have USDC when that depegged, and it's your heart sinks, because it's just something that never happens, right? So
can you explain how that worked itself out?
So Silicon Valley Bank declared bankruptcy, and then within the market there was fear about, is it fully backed, and what would happen to whatever billions, I forget the number, and if they didn't get that money out of SVB, what was USDC going to do to make up that shortfall? So there's all it happened over a couple of days. So quickly, I think the founder came out and said, our reserves are intact. I don't remember exactly if they were able to say that all that money was going to be saved. And I think the government stepped in, and because they were worried about a ripple effect, because Silicon Valley Bank has a lot of startup funding. I shouldn't say funding. It has a lot of startups where they get funding, and then they keep their money within SVB. So they were worried about some sort of economic problems where there was not these new companies being started. And so I think they came in to save it, if I remember correctly.
SVB is still around. They bailed it, or they bailed it in.
What happened? We can find out.
Yeah, we have
I haven't
handy internet.
Yeah,
I'm gonna ask you questions as if you just know everything about everything.
Yeah, so. I did. Well, I was a part of it, but so the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, I think they said they stepped in.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was the 3rd largest bank failure, and it was in March of 23. So about a year ago. It was
3rd largest bank failure in American history.
Yes. Assets of $209 billion. Yeah, that's why it caused all kinds of people were.
Yeah, that's a serious problem. I had heard about it, but I wasn't directly involved with it, right? You had your money there.
I think the peg, if I remember correctly, got down to 40 cents. It was just for a moment, but it was scary. It was pretty, if I remember correctly. Yeah, you could probably see it on a chart, but it was a wick down. People were losing
major sell off. Just
just because. So I think BUSD on Binance is a USD backed stablecoin, which I think they've gone after. But that whole idea of you have inflation problems, centralization problems, regulatory agencies could capture it. There could be problems with the entities that's either controlling the blockchain software or controlling your collateral. There's just lots of problems with a centralized USD stablecoin, which we wanted to design and go in an opposite direction for that. And it's really gave the birth of where we see them kind of go in the direction of a CBDC and being absorbed in. So we went the whole other direction. And then, even as we talked about, renamed it from CBDC to the ICDC, the individual created digital currency. So in the design elements, we really sort of followed that path too. But I think those are the key elements Michael, of a stable coin that if you're in crypto and then say a Bitcoin or whatever, and then you get into a stable coin, to really sort of look at where you want to be with which type of stable coin, because they're just not created equal. There's definitely some issues with specific kinds of stable coin.
Right, and with all these coins that come out, I mean, on a regular basis, right? I wonder what the percentage of them fail, of them that come out fail. Do you have
Of
an idea of
stable
that?
coins or of just crypto?
Cryptos.
Yeah, it's a high number of
Mm-hmm.
projects that are out there. Yeah.
What's
I
your
don't have
thoughts on Dogecoin
those
actually?
yet. Well, I think it was started as a joke
Yeah, I think
where
so.
they
Yeah.
wanted to make fun of the Federal Reserve, and they're like, "Yeah, let's just print it like crazy," and then it just kind of caught on. So
It seems like these meme things that are happening, like GameStop and whatnot,
yeah.
they do well, and then if you have Elon Musk kind of throwing his name behind it.
Yeah, I don't get into the memes. Yeah, but I know what you mean. It's a big sort of, runs up, runs
Oh, I'm
down.
not
Yeah,
suggesting doing it. It's just it's definitely makes for a wild ride.
yeah, it does. I try to I definitely don't get involved with that. I like the native blockchain tokens. I like stable
Mhm.
coins like that are
So
designed well. Yeah.
so I have a better idea of stablecoin, much better idea now that I've gone through it with you. I personally want to get a little bit more into the weeds of it eventually,
Mhm.
but I'm going to have to kind of sit down and draw it up. I'm more visual.
Yeah.
So a couple of things you mentioned, I'm going to have to, the way things are paired and the way you would use the XSD, and then anyways. But
Ye-
so we can go into in further conversations.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
this gave a really good gist of the nature of stablecoins and what differentiates BankX really, because for everything that you're saying, even on a level that is not expert, let's say, it just makes sense that you've covered the bases that make sense, that are potential weaknesses, potential holes in what a stablecoin could be.
Yeah, absolutely. So at the end state of the system, when we've made sure everything is running correctly, there will be no keys that control the system. We would
You're just
decentralize.
going to let it off, right?
Yeah, well, it's
Out into
something
the
called
wild.
yeah. Well, it's called yeah. It's you renounce the keys or burning the keys. So then it becomes a permanent software that can never be changed. So once we feel like okay, this has proven itself, there's no more things with it as far as like because as you get bigger, there'll be more interest in hacking the system. So if there's say $1 million versus 10,000, there you get a lot more interest in it for people trying to get to it. And then we would decentralize the front end application, so you can put that application say in a decentralized storage facility where it's not some centralized server like Amazon Web Services as an example. So that's one other way as far as how you can take it all the way to decentralization. Those are really the high points on stable coins and what to look for, as people get into cryptocurrency and which one they want to look at. It's important, I think, to look at this because it helps to avoid situations like Terra Luna, where you don't fully understand what's happening, right?
And situations like that scare people off really as well.
Yeah,
So
that was a big failure for sure, Michael. That was one of the bigger ones in
yeah,
crypto.
it sends ripples through,
Absolutely.
people in the space understand it and understand, that it's something that is maybe not a one-off, but like it's not something that is inherent to the system, to the
Yep.
softwares, but people from the outside looking at it like, oh my God, it just crashed. What does this mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
But that's why innovation is key, and just there's gonna be things that keep innovating. This is just the beginning, right? There,
Hmm.
and
Oh yeah.
like you've said, these stable coins are going to be able to be used for a lot more than just exchange, a lot more than just a currency, right?
Yeah, I think the obvious use cases, trading pairs, holding value in crypto, so you don't have to go back into fiat. I think we could link to sort of the legacy economy with some sort of crypto card, or someone will do it. I don't know necessarily that we need to do it. And yeah, I mean, there's all the same use cases that a stable coin would have. I do think it is the key to mass adoption with crypto, where people can be in control and know that they have a true value store without being sort of inflated away from, you know, the value that they've already created, you know. So.
Right. People don't want to lose their shirts.
Yeah.
And it's such a key part. I mean, crypto, we spoke about this last time as well. Crypto led the way kind of in this freedom economy movement. And for us to keep going down it, we need to have, you know, solid stable coins. Particularly crypto is obviously the foundation of stable coins. That's fair to say, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, stablecoin is just another class of crypto. So it's
Right.
it's under the same sort of decentralized ledger, all of that, but with protocols like Ethereum that now allow you to program on the blockchain, you're able to sort of create a system with your own design and keep that software on the blockchain to perform.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, so it's really
is Ethereum still centralized? Does that the creator of Ethereum, the founder of Ethereum, still have the keys per se?
Well, they transitioned over, or they are transitioning over to more of a proof of stake. So there might be some potential, you know, oh, there's a lot of validators that, you know, could potentially control the network. I haven't looked into what exactly that percentage is, but they are in a bit of a transition phase. Their next,
because the power is centralizing, as it usually does with people.
Yeah,
that
I mean, the big thing is they're going through a series of upgrades from, and there are all these different names where they move from what sort of the way Bitcoin works to more of something called a proof of stake, where you stake Ethereum and then you can validate transactions. And if you're a bad actor, you get what's called slash. So they take some of your Ethereum. So it's very much sort of an investment in the network. So their next upgrade is gonna help some of the layer 2 scaling solutions around Ethereum to be much cheaper and work better with the Ethereum main chain. So layer 2 is like Arbitrum and Optimism and Polygon. It's this new upgrade, and there's a series of them as they move through. But yeah,
that's separate from the main Ethereum chain, you're saying?
Yeah, these are separate chains that are more scaling solutions for Ethereum. So
okay,
yeah.
They're separate things entirely. Okay.
Yeah, it's a whole separate chain, but it links to the main chain. So you bridge over to, say, this layer 2, like Arbitrum. You can do all these things, you know, all the dApps and everything that are on there. And then when you're ready to go back to the main chain, you bridge over the Ethereum, so you can hop over to a chain. So their next upgrade is all about that, and being able to make that more efficient.
broaden the function of what it can do. Okay, cool.
Yeah, like it basically creates sub communities within Ethereum, just using those 3 layer 2s. Michael, I really like Arbitrum. That it's a pleasure. It's quick to bridge over, really inexpensive. I think they have something like, I think it's something like 5 billion in total value locked. So it's not a small, these are not small chains. And so yeah, it really talks to the whole idea that the future is multi-chain. You know, you create these I don't even want to call it siloed, but you have sort of these different neighborhoods of people who kind of like certain things about that chain, and they're allowed to move to other ones. But as I mentioned earlier, you know, it's roughly 80 or 85% people just tend to stay where they are when they start, you know, liking a chain. So I'm an Ethereum. I like that since I've always kind of kept up with it, but I can see like, oh, Arbitrum's pretty good. Yeah. So it's something cool. As a side note. Yeah.
It very much mirrors the way. So I'm working on something that I'm calling a founding document series. I'm looking at the foundation of America and, you know, the philosophical foundations and whatnot. And it seems like more and more, the more and more I look at it, localism is the foundation of America and the Constitution actually being able to sustain itself, you know, into the future. And the less localism and the more, you know, centralization, and the further away your politicians are from the, you know, your community, right? The more broken, corrupt,
worse it
ineffective.
Is, yeah.
So I think this is a really good thing, actually, that there are, you know, things breaking off and creating their own.
Absolutely. It needs to be multiple chains, and there's different use cases, right? Some some chains, you know, are very geared towards, say, NFTs, and some are even broken down into that where like, oh, we're going to concentrate on non-certificable stocks. Like, you know, we can trade stocks on the blockchain and it's just built specifically for that. And then you have other chains that are chains just designed to bridge to other chains. I mean, it's really gotten,
Yeah, it's a whole network of, yeah, it's awesome.
It's networks and networks, and then networks on top of networks to do certain things that benefit. So I think it's pretty interesting the way it's going with
I'm very glad that I'm very happy. Well, thank you for sharing your knowledge with me. I feel like I mean, we're just scratching the surface, but I'm very excited to learn a lot more about this because it's such a cool. I mean, it's really the future. I think I don't know. I'm not sure if it was you that said it to me, but I don't know if I saw this somewhere else. But this is going to make the internet, crypto, like as an innovation. Was it you that said this?
Yeah, it was. I think it's 10x the impact the internet had.
Right.
So because it's an entirely new network. So there's specific protocols around the internet with servers and TCP/IP and all of that, right? But this is using sort of the communication network we have, but putting an entirely new network protocol into it, where now you have this ledger that we can view as a single source of the truth and remove trust from really every transaction in every industry. So I don't need to trust that you own that red Ferrari. Like, I know it's yours because it's on the blockchain and you're really selling it to me. And then when I put money into escrow on the blockchain to buy it, you see it's there. You don't need to ask anybody or go to a bank. And so there's escrow, there's real estate records, there's sort of the representation of real world assets on the blockchain, not just sort of a sending and receiving crypto and doing all these things of staking and all that kind of stuff. So it is, it's going to touch every industry. Absolutely. It even, I think, has a role to play as we begin to evolve artificial intelligence, where you can use the blockchain to verify data. You can use it to verify algorithms, you know, who's the author of all of this, verify identity of people supplying data. So you could really make AI a truth system rather than I have AI where I can program to have a specific political slant. Right. And so you have different AI, right? You have different AI programs that are where the data set is controlled by a specific political agenda and the algorithms are being controlled by a specific political agenda. And
I think we just saw that with Google. Did Google just release their?
Yeah. What was it called? Where you would say, show me some pictures of a specific race of people. And it would say that's racist or something.
Right.
Yeah, all
exactly.
kinds of stuff. Yeah. And then, yeah, it was, very crazy.
It's absurd. It's absurd. Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah.
Gentry, I saw Gentry, another member of Breakaway. He made a video. And if you ask about October 7th, what happened in Israel, it says that this was not a terrorist attack and this never happened.
Oh, wow.
It's like that's a crazy one, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, it's agenda driven and ideologically driven by these people that are they're psychopaths. You know?
Well, it's always like who controls the media. Okay, now this is like the control of information. I mean, that's right. And then Google controlling certain search results. It's all along the same sort of method of control. All right. Yeah. So they want to control the data the way it is here. So.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's an interesting thing. So, you know, not to get into an AI discussion, but I think the blockchain has a lot to do with what we can do to secure the future, not only with currency, but with, you know, keeping people free and getting making sure that there's true information to the individual that they can make, you know, appropriate decisions from that, you know. So
right, because AI is inevitable, right? So
it's already been here, I think, for a while. I think they're just letting it out. So,
true, right?
I think it's been here for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, they started talking about aliens, so you know that they're hiding some stuff.
Yeah, that's right. You know, something's going on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So but I think that's a good discussion. If people want to know more about BankX, they can go to our website, www.bankx.io, or any of our socials on Telegram @bankxio, or all of the links to our social or YouTube channel is linked at our website where you can learn more information about it.
Yeah, you have a bunch of great master classes on there. I haven't gone through through all of them, but you really get into details in a way
Yeah.
that we wouldn't really be able to do in conversation. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really Bank X. I'm looking forward to future conversations too.
Yeah.
I don't know what we would cover next, but there's kind of endless amount of things that we can go over. So
Yeah, I think a lot of it's going to be us watching, the push towards CBDCs, the legacy banking system. There's going to be a lot of things like that as we start to see if there's bank failures, if inflation continues to run away. That it's going to be a very rocky road ahead for USD holders, bank account holders, things like that. I think could have the potential of a problem there. So we'll see how it all unfolds, but we're preparing on the BankX side to have an alternative.
that's awesome. All right, cool. Yeah, that's good. Lance, thanks so much for joining again. And
Thank you.
everybody, if you're watching, yeah, you can find Lance at on Twitter. You're Lance Parker IO.
Yeah, Lance
and
Parker.
BankX, it's BankX IO as well.
Yes.
So
Yes.
cool. Thanks for joining us, folks.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.